Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a great day, and above all else, that you're indeed looking after yourselves and one another. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are still down to a trio. Jim Bricker will be back very soon, and I just wanted to welcome back to the channel, Mr. Ken Jeshire. How's it going, Ken?
Going well, Armando. Glad to be back.
Glad that you're back. We never see enough of one another, you
I
know.
know.
It
Go
just
figure.
feels like yesterday we were on a show together. It was,
It
actually, ladies
was,
and
yeah.
gentlemen. Uh, and the one and only Sagosh. How's it going, Sagosh?
Doing good. Thank you, Armando. Glad to be back.
Glad that you're back. Ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, I always have fun with these two individuals on the channel. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, yeah.
we have reconvened here, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss album anniversaries, specifically I was going to say suffering, celebrating their 60th and 40th anniversaries upon release for the month of November. We have a list here, ladies and gentlemen, please. Now, what we're going to do is for the month of November, because the 50th anniversary albums are lengthy in amount, we have like 8 albums
Eight.
to celebrate the 50th anniversary for November. So what we're going to do is this first episode, we're going to concentrate on the 60th and 40th anniversaries, and the 50th anniversary edition, we are going to split it up into 2 episodes. So that's going to be a hell of a good time. But for this episode today, we are focusing on the 60th and 40th album anniversaries for November. And coming in at number one, released on November 1st, 1965, we have Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, Going to a Go-Go, recorded from 1963 to 1965, released on Tamla Motown, produced by Smokey Robinson, with a whopping playing time of 33 minutes and 49 seconds. Now, Ken, what is your view on this album?
Okay. Going to a go-go. Smoky. Um, this fits right into your category, Armando, of um how do you say it? All meat, no filler, or whatever.
Okay, okay.
What's that saying? What's that?
All filler, no killer, or
All
all
right, I don't
killer,
know. I don't know.
all
But
killer, no filler. Okay, all killer, no filler.
I
Okay.
think this is their seventh album or 11th or something.
Mm,
Seventh, yeah. This
okay.
album tracks, this is almost like a greatest hits album in itself. This is exactly what you would expect um, from the Motown sound of 65. Um, and the thing that really surprised, I've only just listened to it. I've never researched it or looked at liner notes or anything. One thing that surprised me is that they're almost all, I think there's one exception, um, original tracks. I always think of a lot of Motown as covers of other Motown because they used to do that a lot back then.
Hmm.
Like, holy cow, no, these are songs that Smokey and various members of the Miracles wrote themselves. They weren't relying on the super songwriters of the time. This is them not just performing excellent numbers. This is them also writing these and arranging these fantastic songs because this album was produced by Smokey himself. Um, Tracks of My Tears, Go Into a Go Go, Ooh Baby Baby. The first three tracks right off I mean, that's a power trio to start an album off with.
Hmm.
Um, and part of the success of this album is it's backed by the legendary Funk Brothers. This is the Motown version of the Wrecking Crew, basically. And yeah, there is not for me, there's not a stinker on this album. Um, I just I love 60s Motown anyway. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
but
this would have been in your wheelhouse.
this is definitely in my wheelhouse. Um, there's at least half of the songs this album that belong on any jukebox, in diners and stuff like that. Um, yeah, you just go from one to another. Different grooves, some a little bit different styles, although it's all in the same vein. Um,
Hmm.
this is a feel good album for me. I love it.
Okay.
Pretty
Okay.
simple.
Yep. Pretty simple. All right. So, Ghosh, your review of this album?
This is the first time I'm listening to a Smokey album as a whole. My exposure to Motown has been mostly through their singles compilations.
Yep.
So I've listened to a lot of those. There's like I don't know, about 50 discs, the complete
Holy
Motown
moly.
singles.
Yep.
They
Who?
have
Got
like
those.
Okay.
6 or 7 discs per year from like 60, no, I think 59 to 71 or something. It's an insane collection.
Yeah.
And yeah, most of my Motown I get from there. So yeah, I'm familiar with Smokey through his singles, but this is the first time I actually sat down to listen to an album. And at this time, I don't think Motown was really famous for albums.
No.
So I mean, they were all about packaging the hit singles together and making a splash with that.
Hmm.
And as Ken pointed out, a lot of the Motown artists were just about either picking songs from the resident songwriting teams or covering other artists who had already put out these singles on Motown. So, but Smokey, I think probably along with not at this stage, but who would become later, maybe Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye. Uh, Smokey was probably the first of that lot to really,
Yep.
put his own stamp on Motown. I mean, he was part of the stable. He was there, but he had his own space. He had carved out his own niche within
Hmm.
Motown. As a performer and as a songwriter. Even as a singer, there is nobody quite like Smokey.
Right.
His voice is so absolutely unmistakable, and there's a certain sweetness to him that you don't get from most other singers. I mean, they all have their forte. Each Motown legend has his own sort of speciality. But for me, Smokey is like the sweetest voice you can hear on Motown. It's just so rich, so clear, so perfect, and that's what gives his songs a different dimension. They are Motown songs, but they have their own identity as well,
Hmm.
and that really shines through over here. I mean, like
Yeah.
Ken said, there's not a single track that goes wrong here. Whether it's the slower numbers or the most sort of danceable, groovy tunes, it's all perfect singing, perfect songwriting, superb arrangements, and it's just about unbridled joy. This album, listening to this album, reminds me of the kind of feeling I used to get when I was listening to one of the early Beatles records. It's the same sense of joy.
Yeah.
It just leaves you with an incredible feeling of positivity.
Okay.
Absolutely, a testament to how music can really enliven your mood. There's no better example for that. I couldn't even think of picking out tracks here because every track is a winner. But just to highlight a few, maybe Tracks of My Tears, Fork in the Road, and Since You Won My Heart. These are all three a bit on the slower side, but uh, like highlights for me. And From Head to Toe, this is one I was familiar with
Yeah.
earlier through the Costello cover. And it's just such a bouncy little tune. You can't resist it.
Hmm.
You know? It's a fabulous album, and it just tells me that I need to, go back and revisit more of Smokey's records because he's clearly a lot more than a singles act. I need to check out the albums.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Um, for me, I'm with you, Sagosh. This was the first time I actually listened to a Smokey Robinson album at all. I mean, I never took the time to listen to any of his music before now. And this is a good album. You can't deny that his ability to write memorable melodies. There's only coffee in my cup, ladies and gentlemen. I swear to God. In terms of just catchy hooks and memorable melodies. I mean, and I agree with Ken. The first three tracks, the tracks one here is going to a go go. Ooh, baby, baby. I mean, like it's like a triple punch, that you get like right off the bat. The first, 8 or 9 minutes of it, right? It's just, you know, it's platinum. It's AM platinum at the time if you think about radio. Um, and the harmonies on this album are just wonderful between the group. Eh, I do need to sit with it more.
Yep.
Um, and if you look at the tracks, there's 6 tracks on side one. All of them are just over 2 minutes long. I mean, they just packed it in into. Remember back in the day, ladies and gentlemen, when you could fit 6 or 7 songs on a single side of a vinyl LP, like I've said before. Okay, these days they don't do that anymore. Okay, you know, your standard LP that should be a single disc is now always a double disc. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but I do like it. I do like Since You Won My Heart. From Head to Toe is good as well. Um, all that's good. I mean, all the songs are good. It's just again, uh, this is way before my time in terms of being born, so I'm not used to it. But I do like it. I do like it. But yeah, I need to sit with it some more. And you could tell that as an arranger and producer and writer, Smokey Robinson knows what he's doing. He knew how to create and uh, I guess you could say sculpture melodies and put them together and put harmonies together in terms of layering. And he knew what he was doing. Overall, and he still does. So it's a great album. It's a great album. So people really should check that out. Now, the next album on our list. Celebrating its 40th anniversary. We're going to Sade with Promise. Their sophomore release, released on November 4th, 1985 through Epic Records. This is their follow-up release to Diamond Life, released in 84, recorded from February to August of 1985, with a playing time of 54 minutes and 10 seconds. Ken, what is your opinion of this album?
I was fortunate enough to discover Sade um, when Diamond Life came out. And, I bought it. I played the heck out of that vinyl. It was just something um, different from what was going on at the time. For me, there was a throwback to a lot of the, like I say, the soul music of the 60s. And there was a lot of stuff that came out in the 80s that were a throwback to the 60s in some form or another. Um, but First of all, this is for a sophomore album. For me, this is killer. In music history, there is the whole thing about sophomore slumps.
Yeah, the sophomore
Second,
jinx. Yeah.
yeah, the second album drop after a really good debut album. For me, this is just a progression into another fantastic album for me. In a way, it's when I listen to Sade, I envision, like you see in TV shows and movies, someone sitting um, in a lounge,
Yeah.
with the sultry singer on stage, female singer on stage, with the background instruments, and she's holding the microphone, and
Yeah.
it's got that kind of um, feeling.
It does.
So for me, so my notes say lounge music, but in a good way. This is real. This is relaxation. It's romantic. It's jazzy. It's got blues. Sade's vocals, as sultry as they are, um, she can pull out the power when she needs to on these
Hmm.
songs. So she's got an incredible vocal range as far as timbres um, and colors and stuff in her voice. It's just unmistakable. And she does a wonderful, she has a wonderful way of developing that into some incredibly subtle and effective harmonies, vocal harmonies. Um, doesn't overdo it. It's still mostly just solo vocals, but when she does add those harmonies, it's very effective. I love the way that she took advantage of the technology at the time when it comes to um, how much space is available on a compact disc. Um, she would just fill up a disc, however many songs, how much room do I have? Okay, I'll add a couple of more, fantastic songs.
Yeah.
Um, this one song after the other, again, um, for me, no filler. The nice thing revisiting this specifically to analyze it for this video, it's got musically and instrumentally, it's got all of those mid 80s instrumental um, sounds and
Tropes.
everything, yeah, and yeah, that we associate to the 80s, but it's not cringeworthy. It's not within the context of this. It works so well.
Yeah.
And like I said on another video we've done recently, it's very much of its time, yet it's still timeless.
Oh, beautifully
Um,
put. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and and it opens up. Is it a crime? And it immediately opens up with this big band uh, opening, and then it drops, boom, drops way out
Yeah.
into that soft, sultry voice.
Hmm.
This album, the whole album has wonderful bass work by Paul Denman. Incredible bass guitar work on all of these songs.
Yeah.
Um, the keyboards are very effective, understated when they need to be, a little bit more prominent when they need to be. And we're talking about not so much of synthesizer, but pure piano and organ and electric piano, acoustic piano, organ. So it's not that dripping in synthesizers like a lot of stuff in the 80s. There's still the organic element within those electronics, which I think is hard to pull off.
Yeah.
Um, and even when on the songs where you've got a drum machine, it's not corny. It fits in with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, Wonderful saxophone work on this album, always done tastefully. It's never um, just for the sake of sax. Um, and I say that not being a huge saxophone fan. I like it, but I'm very, very picky.
Yeah.
But anyway, so, many of these songs, the the upbeat songs are very infectious. Um, there's one song where you got some wonderful flamenco guitar going on. Um, uh, yeah, I could go through each one of these songs, but I won't. This is a wonderful this is a wonderful example of what 80s music could be,
Could have been, yeah.
and was. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I just, after that first album, after Diamond Life, every time one of her albums dropped, I grabbed it, and I've never been disappointed. So
Okay.
yeah, two big thumbs up, and probably a big toe too.
I'm glad you made that distinction. Okay.
Well, I decided to say it instead of show it.
Yeah, well, there you go. Thank you. We all thank you for that. Thank you very,
Like I
very much.
could, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. Thank you very much for that, Ken. Okay, Sagosh, your view on Promise.
Sade is an artist I have been familiar with for a long time, but her music, her style has never really been my zone, so to speak. When I first discovered Diamond Life, I think when my cousin brought over some tapes, he was living in Australia at the time, and this was probably 87, 88. So I was more interested in like Graceland and some of the Beatles stuff he had brought over and stuff. I was about 10, 11, and this was there along. So I, you know, as you do those days, because music was so hard to come by, you listen to whatever you got. And I remember playing the tape, and it was nice, but it was, I think, it was a little over my head at the time.
I can see
Definitely
that.
not for a 10-year-old. So yeah, but I mean, I could appreciate that it was good, but at that age, I would have probably classified it as boring oldie music or something like that. Strangely, I never actually got back into her, although I've been listening to her songs on and off through the years. I never, fully delved into her discography or listened very, very seriously. Even what opinion I have of Diamond Life is also largely through my memories of the time. But listening to this now, uh, for one, I mean, I recognize the awesomeness of the musicianship and the production and everything. This is quality stuff, and based on my memories of Diamond Life and what I recall from what I've heard from the singles on and off through the years, I would say that as a sophomore album, this dials up everything. Like I feel like this is 100% more intense, 100% more sophisticated, and she's challenging herself a lot more in terms of
Yeah.
where the music is going. I think it's more than just a small progression. It's quite a big leap, and that is something to say for an artist who is performing fairly unfashionable music for the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, it was surprising, frankly, that Diamond Life even you know got the kind of success it did, because it was pretty much out of left field in 1984 or 83, whenever it came out.
Yeah, you're right there
It's
for Diamond Life. You're right.
So one can only assume that she sort of created a space for herself, and it made this kind of music work, at least for her, in that time. Because I don't really hear, I mean, you can say that there are elements that belong firmly in the 80s, but as a whole, in terms of music, in terms of composition, musicianship, arrangements, voice, I don't think this really fits anywhere in the mid 80s. And if anyone at any point of time tells me that such albums actually went on to sell millions and stuff, I would always be a little surprised at that point of time.
Hmm.
Music here is fantastic. I loved every song, but highlights for me, Is It a Crime? It was a very obvious choice for lead single, I think.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the perfect introduction to this album. Sweetest Taboo has that very, I think it's a little almost ahead of its time, because I
Mhm.
associate that this sound with, more of the, I don't know what you call it exactly, but there was a certain kind of electronic drum-driven uh, um, lounge relaxation kind of
Hmm.
music that was very popular in the early 90s. I'm thinking stuff like Enigma, and this reminds me very much of that sound that they would be going for. I would say she's quite a trailblazer in that sense. Then there is Jezebel, which is an absolute stunner. For me, it's the song. Ooh,
Yeah.
the vocals, the guitars, everything just comes through so perfectly. It's an experience. The other song that really grabbed me was Fear.
Yes.
Very, very interesting composition. Goes into places you wouldn't imagine, and the creativity really shines through over that. But having said that, I think every song here is a gem. This is a great album, and Sade is an artist I need to look into more seriously. I've been neglecting her for too
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. And I believe that she only has 8 albums in her discography. She doesn't do albums all the
Not a lot.
times.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, when a Sade album drops, it drops. It's an occasion, So
That's
it's
right.
it's great. Yeah, oh, I hear what you're saying. Before I give my opinion on this album, I want to make a correction, ladies and gentlemen. The credits should be, the personnel should be given proper credit. The album was produced by Robert Millar, Mike Pella, Ben Rogan, and Sade, who worked with her on Diamond Life. So she assembled the same production team that worked with her on Diamond Life. I corrected my notes and forgive me for that. Now, this album, I need a cigarette, number one, when listening to this album. I'm telling you, I mentioned on another show that Avalon to me and Brian Ferry overall is like watching a musical version of James Bond, in terms of, the suave and sophistication of Brian Ferry and
Yeah.
the, his character he projects as an individual. This album to me, Sade to me, is a female James Bond because she pulls you in into her world, and her vocals to me her voice is very intoxicating. It pulls you in and it doesn't let you go until she's ready to let you go, if she ever does. Okay. There is a sophistication to this album, a seduction, a sensuality in this album that I have never heard before. Okay. This album and Diamond Life before, a year before, was the total opposite of what was happening musically in the 80s. Okay. To me, every song on this album is fantastic. To start off with, Is It a Crime at 6 minutes and 20 seconds? To be that bold, to be able to do a song of that length and say, you know what? Screw what's going on musically. I'm doing what I'm going to do and what I want to do. You want to come along for the ride? Come along. You don't want to come along? There's the door. Get out. That's basically what she is saying. Uh, it is simply fantastic. There's a sense of drama on Is It a Crime, where the
Hmm.
horns come up to a point, and then they just stop, like a dead stop,
Yeah.
and then it continues. It's almost like it's like musical orgasm. Yeah, I'm sorry, that's what it is. Because it brings in a heightened sense of tension, of wanting, of needing, but then dropping the mic and saying, if you want it, you pick it up and you continue. That's what it's saying to me in that one song. But every song on this album is fantastic. The Sweetest Taboo, first of all, it hits you with a 1-2 punch with the first two tracks.
Yeah.
Is It a Crime and The Sweetest Taboo? Every song on this album is fantastic. Um, eh, like what to say? Punch Drunk, for example, the instrumental, beautiful,
Beautiful. Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, that there's a lot of richness in terms of the use of bass, the use of saxophone, the use of the drums in terms of the snare drum sound, really rich and thick. It may be it may be programmed, but you know what? There's also there's an organic feel to
Yep.
this album.
Yep.
And I I can't say enough. I can't say enough. To me, this is like the movie Casablanca in Technicolor because you're brought into a world, a feeling, a sense, a dreamlike state that you don't want to leave
Yeah.
for those 52 minutes. Or 54 minutes, sorry, you don't want to leave. You want to stay and you want to enjoy. Give me more. Give me more. All the 11 songs on this album are fantastic. I can't recommend this enough. And the sophomore jinx does not apply to this album whatso bloody ever. Okay? This is why this album, and this is how I'm going to close this. This album is why channels like this should exist because we need to talk about it some more and enjoy it and relish it and just bask in its
Yeah.
beauty. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. Like,
Absolutely.
I just cannot get enough of this album, I swear. Like, it is beautiful. It is beautiful.
This is one of those albums for me that after I finish listening to it, um, unless I immediately listen to something else, the song's still play in my head.
Yeah,
Tar Baby, especially. There's something about that song Tar Baby that just sticks in my brain. It's a fantastic earworm.
mm,
But anyway, yeah,
mm,
I
mm,
agree.
mm.
And one of the nice things about being around
Ooh,
this time, um, and listening to music as it was coming out, actually, there at the time there was a lot. I'm responding to your comment about how this even became a thing. You know, it's just so different from everything else. There was actually a lot of experimentation going on at the time,
yeah,
in music because of uh, the proliferation of new electronics. And so um, I think it was a risk to put for the record company to put her music out. But I'm looking at the certifications. You're right, Armando, like 6 studio albums and 1 live album. But man, looking at the certifications for each one, they all hit hard when they came out. So yeah, anytime there was a new Sade album, it was an event and
yeah, yeah. Yeah. This
brilliant
is,
experiment, very successful.
yeah. And like I said, this is to me, this is Casablanca in Technicolor.
Yeah,
Because again, you're just drawn into a mood, a feeling, a world of sensuality, of seductiveness, of warmth, of beauty, euphoria. This is musical utopia for me.
mhm, mhm.
Um, and yeah, that's all I can say about it. Uh,
All but one of her albums ranked in the top 5 in the US, and the one that didn't was 7. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
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 they're
I
all
know.
very wonderfully successful. So
And you knew, just in closing, you knew that this was an artist that was in it for the long run. I mean,
mhm.
she wasn't going to come in and just do an album and just go away. She was
Yeah,
there. She was in it
yeah,
for her own reasons and for the music and to make her statement musically. And damn it, she did. I'm sorry. It's just unreal. It's unreal. All right, enough of the
okay.
gushing. Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
know.
enough of the praise.
Well, I just
We,
like to say that the
sorry.
expression you gave of Casablanca in Technicolor is actually a very appropriate one because, in a sense, that's what she's doing. She's like taking the the basic ideas from a period that's long gone. I mean, her
Yeah,
core is essentially from the golden era of jazz.
Yes.
yeah,
Then she brings this, smooth 80s sophistication to that, and she
Yes.
blends the two in absolute perfection. So it really is like taking Casablanca and bringing it into the,
yeah,
shiny Technicolor of the 70s or 80s.
yeah. And I
And
just,
the
yeah,
point you made about James Bond is also very interesting because I think for whatever reason, the James Bond films of the 80s tended to go with their themes more on the new wave synth pop
yeah,
style,
Yep.
which is why they picked like Duran Duran and Aha. Both excellent songs, but I would have to say that after hearing you say that, it struck me that realistically, Sade would have done superbly for James Bond in the 80s what
Oh yeah.
was done in the 70s by Dame Shirley Bassey.
she
Oh
would
yeah.
have,
Absolutely.
she would have brought it up a notch,
She fit totally
like,
into that mold.
like
Yeah.
10 notches.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And yeah, no,
That's a good
that's it.
comparison.
And in terms of Casablanca and Technicolor, that was the only way I could describe this this music.
That's right.
And it's yeah, and, of all the gin joints she had to walk into, mine, you know what I mean? Like it's like that feel. It's like, she has that feeling, that sense of, am I gonna hurt you? Stick
Yeah.
around and find out. You know what I mean? Like you don't know, right? But you don't want to leave because the music is so good, So all right. All right. Enough of the gushing, ladies and gentlemen, from one extreme to the other. Okay. We end off this episode of November album anniversaries with an album that is also celebrating its 40th anniversary, the Jesus and Mary Chain, with the release of Psycho Candy, released on November 18th, 1985, recorded from March to April of 1985 on, if I read this correctly, Bianco y Negro Records, with a playing time of 38 minutes and 55 seconds, produced by the Jesus and Mary Chain. This is listed as, in terms of a genre, as noise pop, alternative rock. Ken, what is your view?
Um, of those categorizations, I would choose noise pop. Um,
Just noise, maybe.
Just noise. Yeah.
okay. 1985, like I said, there was a lot of experimentation going on in pop music in the 80s. This album has a lot of the heavy mid 80s production values. In particular, a lot of reverb on this album, and it almost sounds like you're listening to an album from not even in the same room, but that you're listening to the album from the next room
Yeah.
or the second room over.
Yeah.
It's very on every single song of this. I get a very Velvet Underground feel from this album.
I get that.
Um, there's a heavy sense of garage band to it. Um, uh, it- yeah, the noise pop. Yeah, there is literally noise
Hmm.
in this music, and that just doesn't do it for me. Um, it starts off with just like honey, so it's like okay, basic three chords, rock song. Okay, overall, the the lead vocals here sound like a lot of other indie bands at the time. Just no range, always kind of low. Um, uh, y- almost kind of a monotone feeling to it. Not very melodic, not interesting. So that's a heavy trope right there that a
Yeah.
lot of other bands at the time were doing. So it's like, okay, I listened to the first song. It's like, okay, it's kind of retro in the song form, and then it goes to the second. And it's like, okay, this has got a little bit more noise, a little harder sound. And as you progress through the album, you get more and more of a hard sound to it.
Hmm.
Um, and what and more noise. So I listened to the album and I really kind of got bored very quickly. Um, and I thought, and I read somewhere that after this album, they started to venture away from so much noise. I've always heard the name Jesus and Mary Chain,
Yeah.
and I have probably heard their stuff on radio and on compilations, and I just didn't know that's who it was. So I went online and listened to examples from their later albums, and it's true. Later on, they do. Um, it's less noise. The production value gets better. It's got a cleaner sound, although, but it still has all those same similar tropes. It's just a little bit more palatable. There's probably a chance I could find something in their catalog that I enjoy, but not from this album, no. Um, and I tried. You know me, I always try to find something good to
Yeah,
say.
you do. You try, but yeah.
So yeah, if you love this album, more power to you. Enjoy it, but I will not be visiting it again.
Okay. Thank you, Sagosh.
There's this very famous quote which is often attributed to Brian Eno. I don't know if he actually said it or it's just one of those internet things. But it's a familiar quote to everyone by now, I think, that, the first Velvet Underground album sold only about 300 copies. But everyone who bought the album went and formed a band. So that's always projected as like a very positive, statement about how influential the Velvets were, and how much their impact was. But if you take that statement and you think, oh, yeah, it's a great album. It influenced so many people. Maybe 300 people bought it, but they all formed bands. That's such a great thing, right? What could go wrong? Well, let me tell you, Jesus and Mary Chain Psycho Candy is what could go wrong. This is the textbook definition of how to take the basic elements out of the Velvet Underground, strip away everything interesting, creative, musical, strip away any sense of songwriting ability, any sense of, drama or,
Yeah.
musical ingenuity, and just take the basic garage band core essence, run with that, and say, I was influenced by the Velvet Underground. So yeah, to me, this is like the worst case scenario of what can happen if you form a band saying, we want to be like the Velvets. I could not find any redeeming factors here. Just like Honey is, you know, as its title, in the context of this album, it is Honey. It's as sweet as you'll get from this album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
tolerable as you'll get.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rest of it is just noise.
Yeah.
I know there is a whole, region of indie music fans who treat this album as some kind of holy grail, and they probably started out the shoegaze movement or whatever. It's not really a zone I venture into, but yeah,
Mhm.
to me, musically, there is nothing here by way of interesting ideas. The production is terrible. I mean, it's like adding insult to injury. There's nothing great in the songs, and then when you're having to hear them performed and recorded in this fashion, it only makes it worse. The tragedy of it, I think, is that they actually intended it that way. It's not a case of somebody screwing up. So they actually wanted to sound like this, and well, it might be nice for an experiment. Uh, you know, I don't think it's something that should be foisted on the general public without several, warnings.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Excellent. My opinion of this album? Hell no.
Ooh, two words.
I yeah, this album makes no make no no. I with the exception of Just Like Honey, and that's a slight exception.
Yeah.
Uh, because there is a bit of melodic uh tweaking here and there on Just Like Honey. There is. But there is no redeeming quality of the rest of the album. What's so bloody ever? Um, I can't. It was like having a toothache 24/7. I can't do it. I can't do it. I was gonna say this makes like this this album makes The Cure sound like Duran Duran in terms of quality of music, right? I mean, here's the Jesus and Mary chain down here. Here is The Cure. I'm sorry, man. In terms of the like, no, this album for me, aside from Just Like Honey, there was no redeeming quality to it at all. I remember seeing an interview with the members of the Jesus and Mary chain on the New Music, years ago on Much Music and the New Music, and the bass player had only two strings on his bass, right? And they asked him, why don't you have the other two strings to make it a full? He says, why? Why? I only need two strings. I only need two bass strings. Having the full four is a waste. What's the point? It's like, what's the point of this album? I'm sorry. It's like there
Yeah.
again, all seriousness. To me, there is no redeeming quality, with the exception of again, Just Like Honey, for this album. Everything else to me is like a wall of noise, and I can't. I can't. I'm surprised I didn't have an ear bleed by the end of listening to the first side of the album. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. It's I did it, but by the grace of God, I got through it. So, you know.
Let me just add one more thing. To put this album in context, I'd rather listen to the Shags.
Ooh,
Oh boy, that's like shots fired. That's a bazooka fired.
that's two
I'm
bazookas
I'm
aimed at
serious.
you.
I'm
Okay.
not exaggerating. Yeah.
All
There's
right.
more interesting stuff in the Shags album than this. So there you have it. If you know, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Shag album is made up of individuals that are not even musicians at all. So that puts it in quite a heavy context there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Album celebrating their 60th and 40th anniversaries, respectively, for the month of November 1985 and 65. Um, I want to thank Ken and Sagosh for coming with me on this ride. It's been interesting and quite interesting.
Yeah.
And we will be back with albums celebrating their 50th anniversary for the month of November 1975. We have 8 albums in that list to talk about. Two of them I already know quite well. One I know very well. But because we have 8 albums for that episode, we're going to split that episode up into two segments. So part one and part two, 4 albums each. So please stay tuned for that. We have episodes coming up on the Tea Party that Ken and I do believe Sagosh is joining us on that episode to discuss and go through. And we have, and I'm going to say this, Jim Bricker is coming back on the channel with his son, John Michael, and we're going to be talking about new releases of alternative rock, country, pop. It runs the gamut. So that's coming up soon on the channel. So please stay tuned for that. And again, we want to thank you all for the support that you're giving the channel. Um, I've enjoyed doing this channel for the last 2.5 years. I'm going to continue with it. And it's only, as good for me as the people I do the episodes with. So these two, along with Jim and remember Bill Schuster, he along with the rest of the crew make it a joy to do episodes on this channel. It's not we don't always get along. We do have little snipes here and there, but you know what? All the best families do that. So I mean, it happens, right? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Please look after yourselves and one another. Click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content we got coming up. And we'll see you soon on the Music Den. Bye for now.